Yes, we are live. Hi everyone, welcome again. Welcome all to this webinar. This is a Landing.Jobs partnership with our amazing client Reactor. So for the ones that don't know Reactor, they have been for quite a while in the market. For more than 20 years, they have been shaping the digital landscape. The headquarters are in Helsinki, and they have also offices here in Lisbon, in Amsterdam, Stockholm, New York, and Tokyo. Our guest, Akos, is based in Amsterdam. So that's where he is now. But they actually don't want to stop here. So Reactor is now planning to double the international team in the next coming years. So please check their open positions because they are hiring. Don't be shy, just engage with us here in the chat box. I should have said this before, but my name is Christina. I am the event specialist at Landing.Jobs marketing team. So just a quick note as well regarding Landing.Jobs. We are a candidate-driven tech careers marketplace dedicated to matchmaking great tech talent with the best opportunities. And our mission is really to help the tech professionals like you guys that are seeing us today to take control of your tech career. And we have already changed the life of thousands of tech professionals, so we are really proud about that. Now, just not to bore you too much, I'm just going to give here some introductory details. So, as we want you to get as much as you can from this workshop, feel free to ask your questions. You may find in the bottom of the screen a section where you can address the questions. We'll be answering all of them by the end of the presentation. Also share some information about yourselves. We have done here some polls. If you can, please answer them. And now presenting our guest. So his name is Akos. He's a software developer at Reactor Amsterdam. And today he's giving us some concrete tips and techniques on how to do more and at the same time, how to reduce stress and multitasking during the day-to-day workflow. Please welcome him. Akos, the stage is yours. Please go.
Thank you very much, Christina. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. So let's actually dive into the talk then, and maybe a little bit of practicalities. So the talk is named Practical Kanban, and a little bit about me then. So yeah, I'm Akos Sokodi. I'm a full stack developer at Reactor. Originally, I'm from Hungary. However, I moved to the Netherlands in 2018 is when I also joined Reactor. And actually, I will be joining the Lisbon office in a month for like a 6-month period. Because at Reactor, we have these like ambassadors, so people who have been for long enough in the company. Whenever we have a new office popping up, we tend to sort of transfer some people for a short period of time to sort of spread the culture and then the Reactorian way. So I'm going to be doing that. So super excited. Never been to Portugal, never been to Lisbon. So looking forward to it. It's a really nice adventure. And maybe it connects a little bit to the talk, but I really like the team aspect of software development. So to get stuff done together, that is sort of like my favorite part. By the way, I can also see the chat. So if there are any questions, I can also have a look and then just respond as well as we go. But if I miss it, apologies. Maybe Christina can help me out with that. So a little bit then about Reactor. I think Christina already talked a little bit. So we're a consultancy helping international clients, big clients such as Adidas, Lego, HBO, etc. Our headquarters is in Helsinki, and then we have Amsterdam, New York, Tokyo, Lisbon, and more to come offices. And we just launched the Lisbon Talent Hub last year, December, with 15 people currently hired all over the world, and we're planning to grow to 100. And we're also a great place to work. Reactor.com/careers, you can find out more info. And if you're curious about our Lisbon office, it's reactor.com/Lisbon. So about the talk. So how this talk came to be, actually. I've been through at a handful of teams at Reactor, and every team which we have has its autonomy on how to run things. There are certain constraints based on the clients and whatnot, but ultimately, as a Reactorian, you have full control, at least from Reactor side, on how to run things. So sometimes projects are run in different ways. And there was this one team where I've been part of actually during the pandemic, where it really stood out in terms of our delivery was super fast, but also it was a low stress environment. So say previously, when first, for example, I've been working on something and then I had a uh, pull request review. We'll talk about that later, what that is for those who don't know. I had to like wait for days sometimes, and in this team it was just 30 minutes tops. So that's a very big increase in speed. But basically, I really wanted to capture the whys and hows of this team. Like, why are we so good in that sense? And pass it on to first to Reactorians, and so in my future teams, which I also actually did. So immediately when I joined a new team, I actually gave this like talk, or at least a very sort of beta version of this to my colleagues, because this is what I picked up and I think it's super useful. So let's do it. And now here, this is the first time that I'm actually trying to share this in the public, and hopefully there's going to be concrete things which you can all take away with you after the talk. I really hope. So this talk will explain these concepts that I've picked up, and which is how to do more, and at the same time how to reduce stress and multitasking in your day-to-day workflow. And also, we're going to be looking at daily stand-ups, what they are actually, and how to make them short and sweet using the same principles. This is going to be all with the help of Kanban, hence the name of the presentation. So, what is Kanban actually? So, it's a Japanese word. I put the kanji in the lower right corner, those who are interested. It means that a visual board or sign, and it was first developed, Kanban, and applied by Toyota, the car manufacturing company, in 1940s. So they actually implemented a scheduling system for just-in-time manufacturing, which essentially means that instead of just cranking out cars from the factories just randomly, they looked at customer demands, and whenever there was a need for new cars, then in sort of like a pull way, so they pulled in the request, and then that's how they made the car. So they didn't make cars for just for the amount, but they actually looked at the input and they pulled the information through the system. So the benefits of Kanban is actually that you'll be able to visualize your work, you can maximize your efficiency, and you can improve continuously. And we're going to actually go through these steps through the talk, and how we do these. We can also have a look at these. And actually, it was so successful that developers started to look at it around like mid 2000s, I would say, is when first Kanban popped up into the software development scene. So yeah, we made it our own and then started using Kanban from that point. Now I want to take a little bit of look on how do we actually use Kanban as developers, and actually how I use it also as in my day-to-day workflow. So we talked about visualization, and what that means essentially is that we are representing our workflows in a Kanban board. And I put a very typical software development Kanban board up here, for example. So a Kanban board consists of columns, which are steps in a workflow, and we go from left to right in the workflow, and we use cards to visualize tasks. So imagine this is our sort of Kanban board, and it's a very typical one. So we have a to-do on the left, and then we have an in progress. So when a developer starts picking up a ticket, such as, for example, login, so it is in the to-do column, then we put it into in progress, and when we actually start working on it. And when we're done with it, we submit it for review. So review is the process, for those who don't know, that we essentially talk with another team member, another developer, to look at our code, at our sort of feature, and then they will give comments, improvement ideas on it. So in that sense, it's a peer review. And once the review is done, we're basically done with the ticket. We merge it into the main code base, and we are done with the set ticket. So the ticket's lifecycle is going from left, from to do, all the way to done. Now let's talk a little bit about work in progress. So work in progress is an interesting and crucial concept of Kanban. So I highlighted what work in progress means. So it's actually the amount of cards in between the to do and the done columns. So right now in this example, we have 2 work in progress cards. So the whole team is currently working on 2 items, the logout and the reset password. And it's going to be interesting as we later look at examples. And Kanban, to make it successful, it revolves around some core sort of Kanban principles. Now let's look at these principles. There are 4 main ones. So the first is limit work in progress. So work in progress that we talked about right now, meaning that let's limit the amount of cards that we have in our system at the given times. It would promise to yield faster delivery and reduced complexity. And we're going to actually look at this more in depth to a very practical example. The second core principle is to always visualize your workflow. So you want to always keep the Kanban board in sync with reality. So if a task is, say, in review, you should also put the card. So if in reality is in review, then you should put that card into the review column. So that is very important. Then we want to focus on the flow, on the workflow, instead of the people. So we don't really sort of care about who does what in that sense. We care about having those work items coming in and pushing through the system. And we can easily identify bottlenecks in the flow and fix them. And the fourth one is continuous improvement, which essentially means that we want to start with what we have, and we will measure and improve as we go on. And that is the sort of Kanban way. I really like this one, because as a consultant, if you end up in a team that has been doing certain things in certain ways, it's going to be really challenging to go there and in one day sort of flip around everything, and change all the rules. And that could be sort of like, it requires kind of a high trust from clients to really sort of like dig deep into the day-to-day process. So let's just start with what we have, and we can continuously improve on this. And we can also see examples how to do this, like step by step as we go on. So you can also implement it in your current team. Now, let's look at the work in progress through a very practical example. So let's say that we need to produce smiley faces on sticky notes. And each smiley face has 1 left eye, right eye, 1 nose, and 1 mouth. And each step to get this done takes 1 day. And once the smiley face is shipped to a customer, it will yield $1,000 every day. That's a pretty good deal, to be honest. Now let's look at what happens when we want to produce the smiley faces with maximum amount of work in progress. So put in as many cards as possible in the system, or minimum, which is going to be just 1 card. We're going to be focusing on 1 card and 1 card only. So, and see how the outcome is going to be. So let's start with the maximum work in progress. So we want to produce 3 smiley faces. And here we have our nifty Kanban board here. So to do is on the left. And then each step is represented as a column. So left eye, right eye, nose, mouth. And then finally done is the part when we ship it to our customer. Now, let's see, we earned $0 and we're at day 0. So the day begins. First day, we put the left eye into the first card. And then we didn't earn, obviously, nothing at this point. But then on day 2, we're going to also put in the second card into sort of the left eye. We can also add the left eye to the third card, And we're gonna, as the days progresses, we're gonna keep on adding more and more features into this smiley face. And as you can see, we have 3 items in the work in progress. All 3 cards are essentially between to do and done. Now we are now on day 12, so looks like our smileys are complete. So now it's time to ship it to the customers. So 13 day, we're gonna ship the first card to done, and we earned our first hard-earned $1,000. And don't forget, each day after we shipped it, it's gonna earn additional $1,000 every single day. On day 14, we're going to ship the second card, and then it's going to earn us another $1,000. However, the first card was already in the done column since a day ago, so it earned us $2,000. So in total, we have 3,000. And on day 15, we ship all 3 of our smiley faces. The third one earned its first 1,000. Meanwhile, the second one already earned 2,000, and then the first card earned $3,000 over the 3 days that it's been shipped. All in all, we have $6,000 in 15 days. Now let's look at the example in a kind of like metrics point of view. So each card spent 13 days in the workflow. The orange one was from day 1 until 13, day 2 until day 14 for the second one, and for the purple card, day 3 to day 15. And the first time the customer released a shipment was on the 13th day, and we earned $6,000 under this 15 days. Sorry. Can we do better? Let's look at the same example now with the minimum WIP or work in progress example, meaning that we are only going to let one smiley into the work in progress at a time. So again, we start the very same way. Day 1, left eye on the first card. However, on the second day, instead of pulling in another smiley face to our system, we're just going to make sure that no, we're only working on one product and one product only at a time. So we're going to actually continue and roll the first card and add the right eye. Now we're going to add the nose to the first card and the mouth. And on day 5, we actually shipped the first item and earned our first $1,000. And it's going to start producing us money. So on day 6, we're going to start with the left eye for the second card. And as you can see, we already earned another 1,000 for the first one. So as we go through and through and through, we reach day 9, and we're about to ship our second card here. And on day 10, we indeed do that. And the first card already made 6,000, and then the second card is making the first 1,000. So already at $7,000. That's pretty good. Now, the third, we also go through, and don't forget, all the 2 cards are making 2,000, so 1,000 each for us every day. And finally, we arrive to day number 15, so the same amount of days actually than the first example. However, we earned 11,000 for the first card, 6,000 for the second, and 1,000 for the third card. So it's going to be $18,000 under 15 days. So let's look at it. So the day spent in the workflow for a product is going to be 5 for each instead of 13, if you remember from the previous example. And the first customer shipment happened on day number 5. That is 8 days faster than the previous example. And we earned $18,000. That's going to be 3 times more than what we earned in the first example. So in that sense, the minimum WIP looks like it performed better. But which one is actually better? And the answer to that is it depends. So if you're going with the minimum work in progress, so the 1, then the faster work item, there's going to be faster work item delivery to customers. So customers will be happier because they receive their items, their work items faster, so they can actually see, what they're paying for sooner. Also, we're going to have faster feedback on work items because since it's out in sort of production already, it's shipped to the customer. We can see how users are using our smiley faces. Is there anything, any tweak, any improvement that we can do? So that's also a really strong point there. We're going to be also working on less parallel tasks, which will ultimately reduce context switching. Now, context switching is when you do something and then suddenly you get an interruption and then you start working on something else, and then in your brain happens a context switch. And just as with computers, there's a sort of overhead to it, and it actually requires more brain power if you're switching between two or even more tasks. So honestly, humans are single core processors in that sense. So we really do want to focus on one thing at a time. So it will be less brain power for us and less stress. So often when I'm working and I'm working on many things a day, I'm super tired at the end of the day because I've been doing just so much context switching. And when I do one thing and one thing only, I feel on myself that I'm way less stressed, and then I'm not so tired at the end of the day. So it's definitely a thing, at least for me. However, this can become an issue depending on team size. So imagine you have 20 developers in a team, and then we say that no, we're only going to work on one thing at a time. So that 20 developers has to somehow work on the same thing, which is kind of impossible. So honestly, the good work in progress limit is going to be somewhere in between 1 and the maximum. So it really, really depends on the team size. So again, just like use the Kanban principle, start somewhere and like measure it, how it works. When do you ship your product? Is the pace good? Like, are the stakeholders satisfied with it? Is the team feeling okay? And then just adjust the work in progress as you go. Measure it again, see the comparison, and you maybe already hit optimum, but I'm pretty sure it takes a lot of time to actually figure out what's the best work in progress. I think that's a different training and different talk by itself. However, instead of setting a sort of hard work in progress limit, I prefer to use a different approach. And this is something that I referred to at the initial part of the talk. It's something that worked really well with the team where I came from. So for that one, we're going to look at two methods to keep the work in progress in check naturally. And we're going to look at what does naturally mean here. Basically, we're going to look at two scenarios. So first one is that once you're done with your task, so you put your little card onto the done column, obviously you want to start working on something new. You would like to be useful and productive. So what you should pick up first. So that's going to be the first thing that we're going to be looking at. And for the second one is that what you should do when you suddenly need to wait for something. For example, you put your code in review, and let's say that now you're waiting for reviewers to look at your code and give comments and feedbacks and improvements. So we're going to also be looking at that and what not to do, in my opinion. So let's start with the first one then. So here we have our Kanban board from the first example. We have the to-do in progress, ready for review, and merged columns. And we have a standard login, logout, reset password, and Facebook login card. So very standard for any kind of system in this like early development phase. So on a Kanban board, you usually put your name or your little icon or avatar in next to a ticket, which means that you're working on that ticket. So you're actually busy with that. And in this example, I am Kat, and we have our trusty coworker dog over here. So let's look at what's going to happen now. So me as Kat, I just finished the login ticket. So now the question comes, what should I pick up next? So we have logout ready for review, dog is working on reset password, and Facebook login is in to do. Now, what we actually did in this theme, and what I also try to do in my day-to-day workflow, is just look at the Kanban board and go from right to left. So why that's important is that what we want to do in Kanban is that we want to get all the cards as fast as possible towards merged or done as basically possible. So it makes sense to look at the board and then focus on cards that are almost close to merged or done, and influence those cards and put them towards done faster. That is going to give you the opportunity to finish the card or the feature as fast as possible. So what we're going to do here is that once I'm done here, I'm just going to look at the Kanban board, and this is what I do every day. I'm going to check, okay, is there anything in review? No, there's nothing. Okay, moving on to the next column. Is there something ready for review? Yes, there is. There is actually logout done by somebody else. So that would make sense to now actually get onto it. So me as Kat, I'm going to assign the ticket to myself. I'm going to put it to the review column and start reviewing the code. Let's say that everything is good to go. It's a thumbs up from me. So we can merge it in and ship it to the customer. Awesome. So now we actually helped making logout a part of the code. So we have a happy customer. Next time, I'm currently also out of task. So what should I do? So what we're going to do here is we're going to, again, go from right to left. Now there's nothing in review. However, I see something is in progress by dog. So then comes a sort of like a step where I just message dog on Slack or on your favorite team communication platform and ask that, hey, would you like some help with the reset password? Because I see that it's in progress for you. If dog says yes, then let's just jump on a call if we're in a remote team, or let's just sit together in a meeting room and let's try to tackle it together. Maybe dog is struggling on it and there's something I can do with it. Or if no, then if dog says, no, I got this, thank you, then I'm going to go for what's on the leftmost because there's no other tickets to handle. And I'm going to go to the Facebook login. I'm going to put that into in progress. So maybe one thing to say that, like last time I joined a new team and I looked at our code repository, I saw more than 10 pull requests or code items that was ready for review. And what I did not start anything. I started reviewing everything. I just reviewed, and made sure that everything that is up for review is just flushed out of the system and we ship it to the customer. And that was honestly the best thing to do at that point. And after that, I started pair programming with many of the team members. And not only did I help push through tickets as fast as possible, but I also learned a ton from my colleagues. So pair programming was definitely helpful in that. So as a quick recap here, if I'm done and I want to do something, you should always go from right to left on the board. And if you can contribute to a ticket in a column, then push it towards done, pick that one up. And if you cannot contribute to any ticket, then start something new, which is pull something in from the to-do. This will reduce the overall work in progress limit in the system. It will reduce time spent in a system of a ticket. And this will also reduce the merge review time. This is what I talked about at the beginning, that from days or maybe weeks, it's basically reduced to maybe minutes or less than an hour. Because if people keep following this rule, then suddenly when I push something to review, that's going to be almost top priority for people because that's on the rightmost part of the board, right? So they will pick that up as top priority. This is also pretty good because some teams, they just don't like reviewing each other's code. And then if you do this, then this will sort of like force them to do that. This would also encourage pair programming. And as we saw that, I could have helped dog if they wanted. So I reach out and then, maybe we can also transfer some knowledge of the project, some domain knowledge. So that's also very beneficial. So ultimately, I would say that make us go faster. Now let's look at the second example, because remember, there were two. So the first one was that if I'm done with something, what do we do? And then the second one is going to be if my card is up for review, then what I'm going to do. We have now a smaller Kanban board here. So we have login, logout, reset password, but with the very same columns. And I am again Kat in this example. I like cats. And we have the login in progress here. But I just finished the login, and I'm going to place this into the ready for review column. So it basically means that anyone who's available should, jump on it and give me some feedback and comments. Now, the question comes that what should I do now that it's in review? So the best thing that you can do is wait. So that seems to be a bit counterintuitive, because then it feels like that, you're just basically you're a paid software engineer, and then you're getting paid for not doing anything. So seems counterintuitive, but we're going to actually look at why it makes sense for you to just wait and not start something. Now let's say that we're going to not wait, and we're going to go down the other path. We want to be useful. We're going to be 100% utilized. That's what I'm getting paid for. So let's say that we're going to start working on a new thing, which is going to be, again, the reset password. So I'm just going to put that into in progress. Now, dog comes at 9 a.m. into the office and then sits down at his computer and, looks at the board, and, dog very much uses the first principle that we talked about. So he's going to look at our board and see from right to left what to pick up. So there's nothing in review, but there's something in ready for review. So dog is going to be like, awesome, I'm going to start reviewing the login. So the dog moves login into review and starts adding some comments and improvement ideas. I am busy working on reset password, don't forget. Now, if I want to finish quickly login ticket, because now I see that dog added some comments, I would like to, make sure that, it doesn't depend on me. So I just really quickly adjust the comments that dog gave me, so I can immediately ship it to the customer. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to jump out from the reset password. And remember, we did a context switch here. And we're going to be looking at dog's reviews, and we address these comments. And okay, dog says, fine, cool, I'll have a look. How did you, solve these things? Awesome. I say, I'm going to go back to the reset password. Cool. So I'm going to do another context switch back to the reset password to the original problem. However, dog actually might have found more comments. So, this is getting a little weird. Like, can you just stop with a review? But no, this is how actually is during software development, that you fix something, there might be something more. So now there comes this tricky situation that it's going to be a constant back and forth context switching. And not only the login will take more time to go through, you'll be mentally drained pretty quickly, because dog might leave some comments, but you're really busy. Yeah, I'm just going to implement this one module, and I'm going to instantly look at the login ticket again. But it's going to take time in reality. So a lot of context switching, and we're not getting done stuff fast. Let's restart. Let's see how a smart cat would actually tackle this thing. So again, we have our item ready for review. However, we're just waiting. We're just waiting and waiting. And dog comes into the office 9 a.m., starts to review, but we didn't move. So any comment or fix request is immediately handled by us. So we're just looking at the screen. Dog is making some comments. We instantly fix them. It's an instant feedback. And again, it's like a back and forth. You can also do sort of like, if you don't have remote teams, for example, you can also just sit down together in a room and talk about it, about the code. And that's even maybe faster. When I had my team, I didn't have the luxury, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, but we did have these sort of like, we maybe jumped on a call or just literally looked at the code repository website and just waited until I get comments. So this way, there's not going to be any kind of context switching. You're still having the login in your mind. And then this is going to be actually the fastest way to close the ticket. Instant responses, no context switching. Everyone is happy. And then, so we moved this into the review. We did the review. So in summary, if something is up for review, my ticket, then what should I do? The best thing you can do is just waiting. So there's going to be no context switching. You can instantly respond. However, there's one caveat. So if everyone has a merge request up, so everyone is basically waiting, then it can cause like a potential deadlock. Just imagine that both dog and cat are essentially waiting. Maybe the dog is on the logout, you're on the login, and there's no third teammate to do anything. So to fix it, it's a small adjustment. Generally wait, but if there are other open merge requests, then review them as well. So as cat, maybe here's the login. So I would maybe also look at the logout in this example, because it's a little bit of context switching, but it's not like starting something completely new. You're just reviewing. I think that's a lighter task on the brain in that sense. So if you do this, then it would help avoid that locking. So about the workflow summary, this is the first part. What do I pick up next? So you go from right to left on the board. My merge request is after review. What do I do now? You wait. And both practices will actually naturally reduce the work in progress, because you're always focusing on stuff that is in the system instead of pulling in more items from the to-do column. And it's going to be ultra fast, trademark, merge request reviews. So it's going to be really blazing fast. And it's also relatively low entry barrier, and it's really easy to try, in my opinion. However, it does require multiple people on board. So if you're the lone cowboy on the team and you want to actually do this yourself, and you keep on waiting for people to review your code, but it's not high priority for others, then you might be stuck there for a while. So at Reactor, actually, we usually try to have at least 2 Reactorians per project, and it becomes really good in that sense, because there's going to be someone else who sort of like has your back, and then we'll also work with the same principle. And actually, in my previous team, we had some client people as well and Reactorians. So it was like a hybrid setup. We started doing sort of this approach, and they also started using it. So it kind of like spread around, which was super nice. So it's easy to get started, but it does require some more people there. Now let's focus on the second one, is the daily stand-up. I think it's going to be a bit shorter here. But I do want to point out that using the same principles, we can also improve daily stand-up. So what is a daily stand-up actually? So those of you who don't know. So it's part of a standard agile development process, basically. It's a ceremony, if you will. So once a day, the whole team gathers, and we're going to sync up on the general status of the project. So actually, if you Google daily stand-up stock photo, this is what you're gonna see. So what do we see here? People standing in circle or maybe half circle, and they're just looking at each other, maybe at notes, and then just talking, right? So this is how a daily stand-up looks like, but this is something that I don't personally like, and we're gonna see some improvements, what is happening here. So yeah, in this daily stand-up fashion, we go in a round robin. So we go in either counter or clockwise. And when it's your turn, the pretty standard stand-up questions are: what did you do yesterday? What are you going to work on today? And do you have any blockers? Anything that does not allow you to progress further with your tickets? And after that, your part is done. But like I said, in my opinion, there are some issues with this one. So it's really easy, and by experience for me, it's really easy to sort of blabber about unnecessary things. When it's your turn, some people feel the pressure, the need to sort of like talk about, that, oh, I did so much things that I just need to talk on and on and on. I want to see that people see that I've been working so hard. But honestly, that's not what daily stand-up should be about. So also, it's, when it's your turn, especially if you don't have notes, it's hard to remember what we did or need to do from the top of our head. And once your part is done, it's really easy to zone out, again, by experience. Even like without the morning coffee, daily stand-up can be very challenging in this scenario. So how can we make some improvements? And again, the key here is to start what you have, and then just do improvements gradually. So the first improvement that comes to mind is let's make the board and the Kanban board and the cards part of our stand-up routine. So what this will give us is that you no longer have to remember what you did or what you need to do, because the board has it all. So it's a single source of truth in that sense. And there's still one problem that, we go in a round robin fashion, but that's too much of an ad hoc. It basically just depends on where you stand during that given day, right? So can we actually do a little bit better with this? And yes, we can. So instead of the round robin, we should adopt the same thing that we had from the workflow improvements and focus from right to left on the board. So let's talk about each card and in this order. So first, I would talk about the login. Next, I would talk about the logout, then reset password, then the Facebook login. And well, right now in this example, we don't have the animal avatars on the cards, but only that person can talk about the card who it's been assigned to. So if Cat has the logout, Cat has to talk about the logout. And if you don't have a card, you don't say anything. So the good thing about this thing is that the board will be sort of forced to be sync with reality. So people will need to create cards in order to talk, and then there's nothing worse when not talking, because this literally means that you didn't do anything, right? So just add your cards there. People will also need to move cards to the appropriate status column, because let's say that we're talking about logout, and then the cat says, "Oh, sorry, it's actually done," so we can just pull it to done. So another nice improvement there. Then what should we actually say about a card? So we did say a little bit something, but in my opinion, there's a really nice sort of way, and which also follows this sort of principle. So again, use the right to left idea when you want to talk about the card. So the only thing you need to say is what needs to be done to move the respective card towards done, to the right, basically. So if I'm Cat and I have logout, then all I need to say is that what this needs to be done for this to move towards done. Because remember, we want to focus on the workflow and also not on the people. Very true for the daily stand-up as well. We just want to know what needs to be done for logout to be actually finished. So that's, in my opinion, like super simple and relies on the same principle. So as a summary, as a total summary, by using Kanban core principles, you can deliver stuff faster with less complexity and stress. So we looked at workflow tweaks, workflow improvements or ideas. So when you're picking up something new, go from right to left on the board. And then where is some sort of waiting in a task, such as a review, you just wait and don't start a new task. This will enable us to deliver work items faster and will reduce work in progress naturally. And now we looked at also daily stand-up. So make sure to include the board and the cards during the daily stand-up. You go from right to left on the board, and only that person or people can talk who had the card assigned. And what you want to say is that what needs to be done to move it towards done. And the same as with the workflow, with the daily stand-up, like I deliberately put it into multiple sort of improvement steps. And so that you can also add these incrementally, these improvements into your daily stand-up. So I did that in my previous team, and it also worked really nicely. So again, like the, let's say, project manager or whoever runs the project, you don't go there on day one and say that, hey, let's change to completely different stuff, but let's put the board in the focus, or something like that, if it's still not there. So again, continuous improvement, again, a Kanban core principle. And with that, this is the last slide. So thank you very much for your attention. And yeah, any questions?
Thanks, Sakos. It was really, really nice presentation. I was really, it makes sense in every aspect. It's amazing. And not only to developers, I think we can adapt this to everything, actually, right? So my first question is regarding the Do you have a team across borders? How do you manage when you have distributed teams all around the world? How do you do to do these stand-ups and make the visual thing? Does it take too much time? Is it difficult to make everyone together?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, so in my first team where I first saw this, there was actually a remote one, and yeah, visualization can be tricky because so I think the most popular sort of Kanban board visualization in the planet right now is Jira, and then many people use that. However, as consultants, sometimes we don't get the rights to the board to edit it and stuff like that, or people are just lazy at pushing the cards. But yeah, like I said, I think we have once we have like more reactorians on the project, it's easier to sort of make a change. But yeah, in remote settings, in my personal experience, we did use Jira with a little bit of like nudging to give us a little bit plus rights and stuff like that. But that worked out very well. So just use Jira as a remote one. And then actually we did also pair programming remotely. That was something that I never did before the pandemic. And then I got hooked onto it. So it was super good. So I would say, yes, it's definitely possible to bring in all these things during the remote setting. It does require extra effort though. Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, yeah, I know. So another question from Maria. She's asking what are the main differences between Kanban and Scrum.
Yes.
I've already answered a bit, but if you can, please share with us
Sure. Yeah.
your ideas. Yeah.
I think, yeah. So I really so before actually like knowing about these sort of like core principles, I know that like from Jira, what you can do is like when you create a project, you need to sort of decide whether you're doing Kanban or Scrum. And I think that it's not super correct what is happening there, but because people usually tend to think that Scrum is basically you have sprints, right? So you have sprints, and then you start, you end the sprint, you deliver all the items, and Kanban is more of like a continuous thing. So you don't have sprints, but you always use the sort of like the pull system, and then you just pull items from the backlog. But in my opinion, these principles that we looked at today, to visualize, to continuously improve, to limit work in progress, and focusing on flow, this is actually something that works really well with Scrum projects as well. So I think when I hear the word Kanban, I used to think that it's something that it's comparable to Scrum, but I think Kanban is something that just an ideas that you can sort of like use with pull systems, and also you can use some of it in Scrum as well. So for me personally, it's no longer so like a direct versus comparison, but yeah, that's me.
Oh, it's really good actually because this works like the principles that you can adapt.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. Yeah. I have here another question. So, what about using Kanban with teams that are not really teams? So they are just working together, but but no one goal cannot review things. What would the advantages be
Okay.
there?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it can be a bit of a challenge. I do think that like the sort of like I said, I think when everyone sort of or majority of the team started using these methods, and our review times went basically drastically down. So yeah, if it cannot really be applied in a not team, I think then that's one of the biggest sort of like gains there. So in that sense, maybe I wouldn't use it, or I don't know if I would use it, but yeah, I mean, if people can focus on from right to left, and then prioritize, stuff that is on the right side of the board instead of the left, you're already sort of like halfway there. And if you wait, I think that's So those parts can be definitely like brought onto the team, but like I said, you need, I think, more people to do this, to start out with this, because alone it's really hard.
Yeah, yeah, right. And how can a team find a good wipe limit? What is a good starting point?
Right. So it, people tend to say that like a good starting point could be just have maybe the amount of people you have in your team minus one maybe. So that could sort of like encourage pair programming, or sort of like maybe even enforce sometimes. But honestly, like if you I think the good thing about these like natural work in progress limits is that if you focus on these two things, and when picking up something new, and then when there is some sort of waiting in a task, if you do that, it doesn't really matter what is the work in progress limits, because you will naturally keep it to sort of like low, and from that point on it doesn't really matter. That's why I really like this approach, that you don't have to fiddle with the numbers and come up with a magic number. You just do these things, and naturally things will work itself out. That's why it's really good.
Yeah, great. And last question: what are other good metrics for beginner Kanban teams?
That's a good question. Because yeah, like once I found out these like two workflow approaches, it has been working out so nicely for me that I could sort of like ditch the whole sort of like metric. So our project manager was happy with us because we shipped products fast. Our people were happy because there was no context switching or very low context switching. So I think, yeah, maybe instead of metrics, it's going to be more about the delivered items. And I mean, obviously, we can look at how many cards have we put done each week, and then if we follow these, then like theoretically and practically, we should see a high enough number of delivered goods, because yeah, that would be the power of Kanban. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so I think we are finishing here. Thank you so much again, Akos. It was, as I said before, like an amazing presentation. Um, if you are looking for a new challenge, there is a list of open jobs at Reactor here in the bottom of the screen. You have a green button. Reactor is hiring. Please check there for the open positions in Lisbon. And I think I want to thank you all as well for being here. I hope you all have made the most of it, and a huge thanks to Akos and to Reactor as well for promoting this interesting talk. And see you guys in the next event with us. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye now.
everyone. Bye
Bye.
bye.